All right, what do you got? We are on number 6, I believe.
6. Okay, so No More Tears. You see that? It's glaring all over the place. There we go. Sin. I like the song Sin a lot.
Yeah.
Really cool. Great chorus. I like the vibe. Probably one of my favorite songs off of No More Tears. And No More Tears is a solid album. I mean, right from the start, it moves along pretty well. And I really like I Don't Want to Change the World. That's great. Mom, I'm Coming Home. It's cool. We all heard it a million times, but it's a good song. Sin, I think, is what I would consider a deep cut from that, because I think most of the songs, like you said, John, have been played or have a video, or he did. I think he did hit a lot of the songs live, but I don't recall Sin being one of the songs that ended up on a live set. But
It was his highest charting solo album, correct?
yeah, I think it. I think it was. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, from a chart perspective, I mean, who knows with the way the charts are now. Ordinary Man, I mean, to get a top 10 album now is not the same as getting a top 10 album in the 80s or the 90s. But even though Blizzard may have sold as much or close to as much over time, I think No More Tears, when it came out, I mean, Ozzy was just all over the radio, all over MTV. It sold very, very well for him, and that was a very big time in his career for sure.
Yeah, and I think that time in '91 it came out. I think that was a pretty good time for heavy music, heavy metal. I remember Guns N' Roses put out Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and that was a big success, even though that wasn't very good. But I think it was I don't know. Was it before the grunge thing really took off, or was
a little bit. He got in there right before.
Yeah,
and Ozzy was smart. We were talking about this off camera. That there was a clear shift. Even if you look at the cover, it's sort of a more mature Ozzy, if you will. He made a clear decision, or his management made a clear decision to sort of put aside the bats and that kind of hammer horror style lyrics, and sort of put Ozzy out there as a little bit of a more mature artist.
This one's pretty mature. This is like one of the best covers, Ozzy covers ever.
As a 12-year-old, I loved it.
I was like 17 when that came out. I thought it was fucking horrible. Sorry. He was. I don't know if it was just luck, or if they had their ear to the wind and they could hear that things were about to change. He just made a really smart move in this album. Yeah.
And who knows timing, if this album had come out in 93, right when, I don't remember when Nevermind came out, 92, 93, something like that. If this album had come out a couple years later, would it have been affected by the whole Nirvana grunge explosion? Maybe. Probably. Because the Black Album, also by Metallica, they slipped that in. When did that come out? 1990.
Was that 91?
Yeah. Was it 91?
Yeah. 91.
Yeah.
So that got in also, like right before the whole thing went up, and before the grunge movement showed up. So it's an album that's aged very well too. I mean, it's great songs. Production is great on it, and pretty much every song on this record is really great to me. There is no filler on that record. So, all right, Nick, what do you got for your number 6?
Okay. Back to Osmosis. Ghost Behind My Eyes.
Nice. I like
very, very Beatles-esque song, in my opinion. Another thing, reading about the recording of this album, I don't know who produced it, but Ozzy is quoted as saying he hated recording this album. Producer made him do multiple takes, made him sing stuff higher than he was comfortable with. This is one song that benefits from that, from being pushed, definitely. It is not your typical what you think for Ozzy, like if the people who only know Crazy Train or Bark at the Moon, and like it's always a riff with him, like singing some fantasy horror lyrics or whatever, playing this track, and it's like, nah, man, like he's, like very influenced by the Beatles,
Yeah.
and I think it's written all over this track.
Yeah, and I like
Very
you
cool
mentioned,
guitar solo in this one as well too.
and like you mentioned earlier, I like it too when Ozzy is sort of, although Ozzy says he didn't have a pleasant time recording that record. I like when he's sort of pushing that upper range, and there is a lot of headphone stuff going on. It's a very elaborately produced record, which some people don't care for. I personally like it. I'm a guy that likes headphone mixes, but there's a lot of vocals coming in and out. There's a lot of guitar things and tones coming in and out, and just layers of stuff all over that record. And yeah, that's a good one. All right, my number 6 is from No Rest for the Wicked, Tattoo Dancer. This one, he actually did kind of play this one live, not as much as like Miracle Man and stuff like that. But like we mentioned earlier, Zach shows up on the scene, and he wants to make a statement. And for me, this is the real, okay, this is what Zach brings to the table, these sort of fast aggressive riff. I also really like when it goes into, like, the tempo drops down as boom, boom, ah, boom, boom, ah. Like, nothing for me makes something sound more epic than like some choir style vocals, even though it sounds like it's a synthesizer, but still just
Yeah.
boom, boom, oh, oh, just makes it sound so much, more evil and dramatic and everything. And I also love this part where it's sort of stops for a second there, and Ozzy does the tattoo dancer, dance for me, and then it tears back into the song. So it's just the whole this whole album. Somebody mentioned it earlier. I think he felt like maybe he went a little too much into the hair metal thing with Ultimate Sin, and I think he wanted to just get more of a rip-in, guys in the room sort of tearing it up type of album. And a Tattoo Dancer for that is just, that's what it is for me. It's just raw energy, just sort of a blaster.
I tell you what, when you're 9 years old and don't know anything about this guy, and you're picking this up, and that song comes on, and that exact line that you just quoted,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like this is the coolest thing I ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This was it, man. This is what hooked me to Ozzy. So
Yeah, and going back to Liar and Hero, I was confusing myself. Liar is the ballad that has Bob Daisley on the fretless bass, but Hero also has great bass playing from Bob. Also,
I want to point out that part you described in Tattoo Dancer with the big chorus. That had to have been a Bob Daisley contribution, because if you're familiar with the Uriah Heep album, Abominog, the song "Save Your Soul" does exactly the same thing, and then it kicks into like to kind of a rockin' riff, but
you're right.
Starts out like that and moves through the motions, and then around the middle of the song, and after I think like the bridge or something, it does it again, and it kicks back in. When I first heard that, it reminded me of something, and it took a little while for me to figure it out. It actually was like the next time I listened to Abominog, I'm like, oh my God, that's that thing, And it was probably a Bob Daisley contribution, because Bob Daisley obviously is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
good observation. But it's amazing that Ozzy's songwriting was so strong during this era that a song like Liar and Hero, even though Hero wasn't really, sort of a B-side, if you will, hidden track, Liar was a B-side. But man, other bands would kill for those songs. But that's just, how on a roll Ozzy was, and what great songwriters he had around him, that Ozzy B-sides would be the main song on other artists' records.
He worked really well with Bob Daisley, and I think that Bob. I haven't read his book. I know that you have, and I'm not sure what his overall tone is, if he resents Ozzy, but I see Ozzy as really a creative vehicle for Bob Daisley to get his ideas and his writing across to a very large audience. Whereas previously, I mean, he was basically a hired gun in Rainbow.
Hmm.
You know, there were bands before that, Widowmaker, Cavis Jute, which were pretty
Yeah.
obscure, all things considered. So Rainbow was really his big band, and he was pretty much just a hired gun. I'm sure he contributed um, to the writing, but it wasn't until he hooked up with Ozzy, and then even later than Blizzard and Diary. I mean, that really got the ball rolling. But I mean, he was a big contributor to No Rest for the Wicked, and also The Ultimate Sin, um, No More Tears.
Hmm.
And he had to have done pretty well from the royalties. So I mean, if anything, I know there was a whole controversy about not being given the proper credit or maybe the proper royalty figure that he thought or that maybe he was entitled to from Blizzard and Diary. But man, I mean, he really, I think it was really, Ozzy was really essential to his career from what I
Definitely.
can see. I mean, because
Yeah.
without Ozzy, what did Bob Daisley do? You know, we talked about the Living Loud thing where he hooked up with Steve Morse and Jimmy Barnes and Lee Kerslake. We recorded some of the Blizzard and Diary songs, but nobody cared. Nobody really wanted to hear it, and Ozzy wasn't singing it. Um, so, I mean, even though Bob Daisley had the ability to write, arrange, compose, you know, great lyrics and stuff, without Ozzy, I mean, where was he supposed to put it, and where did he put it? I mean,
Yeah. They
you know,
definitely had
reason.
a nice working,
Yeah,
they did work well together. And that's why I think Bob kept coming back. Ozzy kept asking for Bob, to come back because they had a chemistry there. Not unlike maybe what he had with Geezer. When Geezer wrote the lyrics with Black Sabbath, Geezer's lyrics worked with Ozzy. Bob's lyrics worked really well with Ozzy. So
yeah. But I venture to say that Bob probably had more involvement with the music than Geezer did. And,
yeah,
you know,
for sure.
I think if Ozzy got in a room with Bob Daisley, and that's the way it had to be, they probably could write a whole album, and it would be good. You know?
Yeah. All right. What do you got for? We are on 7, I think.
7.
I've lost track.
Osmosis era B-side, Whole World's Falling Down. That's my pick. I think that's a cool tune. I think it was like on a Beavis and Butthead soundtrack or something. It wasn't well. I mean, it's on the reissue of the album, but it wasn't on the original album. And I mean, I love Osmosis. I think it's a great album. Tomorrow, the song that I love every song on the album, but I tried to find a deep cut, and I really wanted to bring this album into the deep cut top 10. And we got Amy, which is cool,
Yeah.
another ballad. But I didn't want to go with that. I like The Whole World's Falling Down. It's kind of a chugging song. It's cool. I think maybe it could have made the album. I wouldn't want to take anything off the album as it exists, but maybe just to add it on, I think it would have been a nice touch. Uh, there weren't really enough. I mean, great songs, great ballads, a lot of emotion in Osmosis, but not enough. Not enough rock, not enough rock and roll. And I think Whole World's Falling Down would have kind of checked that box off if it was on there. So that's my deep cut pick for number 7.
Yeah, man. Good one.
Yeah,
All right.
that track there, Darren, that had when I was going through these and listening to these B-sides and stuff and unreleased tracks, that had like a Danzig kind of vibe to me.
Yeah,
With especially with the squeals and everything, it's like, man, you can totally hear Danzig doing this, like, and I believe Danzig toured with Ozzy for the Osmosis cycle, or,
he may
or
have.
when it became the Ozfest, that weird time period there.
I saw him in '95. It was Korn. Um, I know Korn was direct support. There was somebody before that. It definitely wasn't Danzig. Uh, I remember Korn were pretty awful, mostly because I mean, music aside, it was their sound. It just had. I mean, the bass was just like it just sounded like he was slapping the frets. You know,
Yeah.
really, there was no
That
like
clicky sound.
Yeah.
it was horrible. I mean, as far as the music, I really couldn't get past that clicky sound to really like take in the music. But you know, they were a trending band, and it was obvious that Sharon wanted to put Ozzy with a band that was kind of trending, so that they would kind of, you know, maybe bring in a larger crowd, which is what she would do pretty frequently throughout his career. So it made sense. But man, if Danzig would have opened that, that would have been awesome. I would have really appreciated that much more than Korn. But you're right. I mean, it does have kind of like that later Danzig, Tommy Victor guitar sound thing going on there, which yeah, you know, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, what do you got at 7, Nick?
All right. I can't take this one off the list. I have my substitute list over here, but it's SATO.
Yeah.
Every time when people want to talk about Randy Rhoads and like, you know, oh, Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley and I don't know, but do you know this song? You know what I mean? And it's like a lot of people, although they say, you know, oh yeah, Diary Madman, you know, and they know Flying High Again and Over the Mountain. This one doesn't get brought up in discussion enough, and I don't understand why. Arguably one of his heaviest songs, in my opinion. Cool groove, what Darin said earlier, and I love the part like in the middle where it mimics the Crazy Train, the ba 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 wow ba ba. You know, it's kind of like a little homage kind of thing to it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but um, it's just one of the most killer riffs, in my opinion, that Randy wrote.
Yeah,
while he was around.
Yeah, love
it's
it.
off the
Love
book
it.
on that for sure.
I always loved the little guitar fills and everything that he does in that song. Just fantastic. All right, I think I'm the first person to pick something from Ultimate Sin. I saw it in your pile there, Darin, so you could probably have something come up.
Haven't gotten there yet.
So I picked Never Know Why.
Okay.
It's got, I like this album probably better than some people, and I'm not sure if that's just because of the timing when it came out, where I was at that time in my life in high school and all that stuff. But I always loved Jake E. Lee, loved Jake in Ozzy. Starts off with those guitar feedback noises, and I always picture there's a live video from the Ultimate Sin tour, and I'm pretty sure that they do this on there. And when it does that da 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 do like Jake would put his hand up and do these. He had great stage presence. So it's just got a huge riff. Jake sounds great on it. He's got a lot of great guitar playing on it. The chorus, the "We Rock," is a little bit silly.
Love it.
Yeah, but you know, whatever. So
We rock.
Yeah,
you know, it's 80s. You know, I like for the same reason that, you know, Dio, the song "We Rock."
Yeah.
It was cringy maybe about 5 years ago. I would feel embarrassed listening to it by myself, but now it kind of, you know, it you know, it brings you to a simpler time, and in some ways maybe a better place in heavy metal. You know, now I kind of have an affectionate outlook on those. We rock. Yeah, what the hell? We rock. Let's say it, man. Let's say it. Let's get back to that. Yeah, but that was the album I hated.
Awesome. All right.
I actually saw him on that tour, and it was a mess. Metallica opened, and man, Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
That crowd was definitely into Metallica, and when Ozzy came out, he looked like a fat lady in spandex sequins. It was bizarre. Also, the band, there was a bit of a disconnect with the band. Jake, I think, was on fire. He was good. Randy Castillo, you know, I mean, I guess he's a good drummer. I mean, I've heard him panned by critics as the first time I ever heard the term ham-fisted was used to describe Randy Castillo. I never was really sure what that meant, but I guess it means that not a lot of finesse, just very basic and, you know, primal. But Randy Castillo, you know, did a drum solo, and most of his kit was electronic. So he'd like, you know, he'd start, and he was just doing, you know, basic things that every other drummer did in their solos. But then he'd come around to the front, and he'd be hitting the front, and, you know, hitting like the cymbal stands and stuff. And you know, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's great." A little cheesy. But the thing I remember most was they did Flying High again, of course, and Ozzy forgot the lyrics, and it was obvious that Ozzy forgot the lyrics because they just kept playing that same verse over and over again like 8 times, and then Jake actually like kind of like, you know, did his thing, sashayed over to Ozzy, and I swear he whispered the lyrics into Ozzy and like rebooted Ozzy, and Ozzy like belched them out. The rest of the song continued, but Ozzy just looked really messed up, which I'm sure he was, and it was a dark. I think it was a dark point in Ozzy's career, personally. But the album, I think Jake did a good job on it. There's some good songs, there's some cheesy songs, but like I said, in retrospect, I like the cheesy songs. You know, it takes me back to that era, and I miss it. So I have a higher tolerance for the cheesy songs now. But there's some very cool guitar playing on it. The songs are pretty well written. It's a decent album. I haven't gotten to it yet, mostly because I mean on the Ultimate Sin, it was hard to find one that I would consider a deep cut, because I think most of them have been played. I mean,
yeah, he did play a lot of those songs on that tour.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think people have like a real fondness for it. I posted it on our Facebook group, Vinyl Nation. I posted it, I think, last year, and I'm surprised how many people really were excited about it. Said, "Yeah, this is a great album."
It's overlooked, definitely.
Yeah, well, I think it was because of the time that it came out. I think on that tour, Metallica really dominated, and I think Metallica really got more attention than Ozzy did. I don't think that tour did much for Ozzy other than give him maybe the credibility of bringing Metallica out on tour and supporting him, because, you know, Metallica were definitely getting more popular. Ride the Lightning Tour was a big success, and they were still playing clubs during the Ride the Lightning Tour, but this was like their first arena tour. Man, they just went for it. I mean, they crushed, and Ozzy didn't. You know, Ozzy definitely just sort of like wandered out on stage. Somebody dressed him up weirdly, and he just wandered out on stage, and he wasn't prepared, at least in the Philly show. And other shows might have been better. There is a home video for that, and it wasn't, and that performance on that home video isn't nearly as bad as the Philadelphia performance, but I
The ultimate Ozzy.
Yeah, and I have a, that was probably, you know, they told him, maybe they kept him sober, you know, an hour or two before that show.
Or he just touched it up in the studio afterwards.
Possibly. But yeah, I mean, he just looked bizarre. He was overweight.
And he hated the bass player, Phil
Sassoon. Sassoon.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I like that dude in Last in Line, the band. I think he's really good. Good songwriter too. But he brought that Shot in the Dark song, which is actually, I think, was he in a Canadian band?
Yeah, he was in a band before this that was a song from that band, and I think he co-wrote it. I believe he co-wrote it with I don't forget what the name of the band is, and he basically just brought that exact song.
Yeah.
Really? Shot in the Dark?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Wow.
The same song.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard that like a couple of years ago, and I was like, wow, that's exactly the same song.
Yeah.
It's not as good because Ozzy's not singing it. I love Ozzy's voice. Ozzy can sing the alphabet, and I think it would sound really cool.
That's what it is with Ozzy too, man. You're exactly right. Like he can get away with a lot of stuff just because of that voice.
Yeah,
that tone.
I'll take Ozzy's '80s cringeworthy stuff over a lot of other people's '80s cringeworthy stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That's very true. All right, what do you got next, Darin? We are at 8, I believe.
Okay, 8. I have one song from Down to Earth, and the song is No Easy Way Out. It's my favorite song off of this album. This album isn't too bad. I didn't hate it when it came out. I wasn't crazy about it. I listened to it a few times, and I put it down. And then I guess it was when I bought this box set that I started listening to it again, and I like it. It's good. But when I did first get this on CD, the song that I liked the most was No Easy Way Out. I like the hook, the riff, just like the song structure. I thought it was a good Ozzy tune. I thought it was something that really jumped out at me from this album. I don't think he ever played it live. I don't know. I didn't see him on this tour. I don't know why. Did he tour for this album? Did he tour for
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because he put out that live album,
Budokan.
Live at
Yeah, I
Budokan.
listened to it the other night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever played that live though, Darin.
Yeah. I like that song. I like Facing Hell. Actually, this is probably one of the albums where you could probably pretty much pull anything off of it and say it's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Gets Me Through was the single. Facing Hell's cool. Dreamer's not a deep cut. It's okay. No Easy Way Out. That I Never Had. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No,
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Junkie. Could live without it. Black Illusion's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean the whole album is decent. It's not bad. But so I mean I guess you could probably pull a lot of these off as deep cuts. But my deep cut from Down to Earth is No Easy Way Out.
Cool. What do you got next, Nick?
Okay. Going Ultimate Sin as well. Killer of Giants. Easily the best song off that album, in my opinion. Man, that intro, woo! Jake E. Lee, I mean, that sums it up right there for me. Like, that is just the perfect Jake E. Lee song I'll take it over, seriously, Bark at the Moon. Like, I don't know if it's just because you heard it a million times but whenever we get to the Ultimate Sin and everyone trashed that album, like, but did you hear Killer of Giants? Like,
yeah, it
it's
has a little bit
song.
of a Randy Rhoads with the sort of pseudo-classical
Yep.
intro to it. And although he did play that, I believe, on the Ultimate Sin tour, it disappeared for a long time. But then it resurfaced in his set list not really that long ago. I think when Gus G was in the band,
really?
They sort of brought that back and played it a couple times to seem like to pretty well fanfare, because it's a great song, and it's the sort of epic on the record, if you will. It's the sort of revelation, Mother Earth of the Ultimate Sin with all the changes and everything. So yeah, that's an awesome pick. All right. This, a lot of people probably wouldn't consider this a deep cut because I'm pretty sure he had a video for this. But I'm going back to No More Tears, and I'm picking Time After Time because, shockingly, he never played this song live. And he did have a video for that song, right?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there were so many hits off this record that it's hard to keep track. He had a lot of videos and stuff, but
was that another song that Lemmy co-wrote, Time After Time?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I mentioned earlier I'm a sucker for Ozzy ballads. I think this album has some of his best, Mama, I'm Coming Home being one of them up there. Time After Time, it's just I just love it. It's got a little bit of the acoustic guitar in it. It's sort of this, Ozzy moving into, I mentioned earlier with this whole album, a little bit more of a mature Ozzy moving into the next phase of his life, if you will, with his music. And I think this song sort of represents that. It's got a nice Zach solo in it, and it's just a great song on a great record that has a lot of great ballads on it. Road to Nowhere, Mama, I'm Coming Home, and this, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good pick.
I love that one from No More Tears.
All right, so Darin, we are on 9.
Okay, 9 for me, we talked about it earlier, is one of the extra tracks on Black Rain, the song Nightmare. It's really cool. It's actually the song that got me to really listen to Black Rain again after not liking it. It's cool. It's got piano, which I think is courtesy of Adam Wakeman, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty cool. Rick Wakeman's son. very sparse kind of a song up to the chorus. The chorus is very catchy, but it's a really simple riff, but it's heavy, it's effective. It doesn't sound quite as overproduced or modern as most of the other songs on Black Rain. And I like the chorus. I think the verse is cool. Like I said, it's got a heavy riff. Chorus is really catchy, and it goes into like a bridge part, which I like a lot too. It's a well-constructed song. One of the better songs on Black Rain, which kind of raises the question as to why it wasn't on one of the main the main sequence of the album. But I don't know. I guess it just comes down to a matter of taste, or whoever decided that the album flowed with a certain sequence that just omitted this particular song. But Nightmare is a song, and that's my number 9 deep cut pick.
Well, what do you got at 9, Nick?
All right. My opinion, the best Ozzy ballad tonight. Couldn't take it off the list. I know it's been mentioned earlier, but it's the best Ozzy ballad there is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind that one coming up more than once. All right, well, since we're in the mood for ballads, this one was already picked earlier, but I didn't want to take it off the list. So off of Osmosis, Old LA Tonight. Sucker for the Ozzy ballads. I love in the chorus when he goes up really high. He's just like way up at the top of his range. It's got the nice piano in it. It's got a great Zach solo. It's, again, the whole album is really well produced, and I think that works really well, like in that song and in this song Old LA Tonight. So there is my number 9 pick.
I recently listened to that, I guess, a few weeks ago, and I've always liked the song, but I really connected with it when I listened to it recently. It was getting kind of like sentimental. I'm thinking, with all these rock stars passing away and seeing Ozzy in a lot of these pictures looking old and frail, got me thinking, pretty soon, I hate to say it, but it's going to be that time, and this is going to be one of those songs where I'm probably going to listen to it and get choked up.
Yeah,
this is going to be a tough one when Ozzy moves on. And songs like Old LA Tonight have a sincerity, and he really sings. We're talking about Ozzy ballads, and I think the reason that we really gravitate towards Ozzy singing these ballads is because he does them so well. It's just, I think he really puts himself into it, and maybe he just connects with the sentiment of the songs, of the lyrical content of these ballads. But Ozzy can definitely wail like no one else on earth. But as good as he is on the heavy songs, is equally as good as he is and effective on the ballads. And I think when it's all said and done, and there's no more Ozzy, when I go back and listen to these songs, it's gonna be kind of hard. I'm gonna feel some emotion about it, and that's good, in a bittersweet way. But definitely Old LA Tonight. When I was listening to it recently, I was thinking, man, this is a great song, and Ozzy sings it really, really well. I'm not sure that anybody else could do it as well as Ozzy. And Ozzy technically, it's, as we all know, is not a technically great vocalist, a singer, but it's his delivery, it's his intonation that is so unique, and just there's nobody like him. And when he connects with a song and he puts himself into it, it's great. And yeah, I agree. That's one of those songs where he definitely does it well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one thing I like to add with an Old LA Tonight is when I said with Zombie Stomp reminded me from No More Tears, like it could have been like at the end of a No Rest for the Wicked writing session. That to me is the most could fit on No More Tears. Like from No More Tears, Osmosis, it was even more pronounced that they wanted to be modern and fit it, and try to fit in with heavy metal, hard rock, whatever you want to call it at the time being. That song sticks out on that album big time. Maybe not as much as like My Little Man, but that's like a classic Ozzy ballad, like No More Tears-esque. I could see that being on.
Yeah.
My Little Man was in the running for my deep cut pick from Down to Earth.
I love it, dude.
Wow.
It is, you know, it's definitely it's pretty emotional. You really, I mean, the way he sings it, it's like, I mean, I guess the concept of it is, I'm sure it was to Jack. I think Steve
Yeah.
Vai co-wrote that song. Steve
Yeah.
Vai. If you guys are aware of the Down to Earth or the Osmosis, there's a whole other demo. It was like 10 songs that didn't make it to Osmosis that I think Steve Vai co-wrote, and not all the songs are unique to the album. There's a few that made it to the album, but I think that was one of the songs that Steve Vai co-wrote with Ozzy. Not sure who contributed the lyrics. I hope it was Ozzy, because it would be more effective that it would be toward sung in inspiration of his son. But yeah, that's another one. Right? Really, when that last chorus comes in, man, it's just like it gets you in the feels, you know.
Mhm.
Definitely.
All right, we are coming up to our last picks. What do you have for your last pick, Darin?
I did Ultimate Sin. I don't have to hold it up. We all know what it looks like. I think we've held it up like 4 times in this thing. But anyway, the song Never. I
Yeah.
like that pick thing that Jake does in the beginning, and he, you know, just kind of a unique, and then just really cool riff. Strong song. It definitely one of those songs, and it's strange that he didn't get a little bit more elaborate with the song title, because it definitely, when you look it up or when you talk about it, if you mention to somebody that's familiar with the album, you say, "Oh, you know the song Never." "Oh, you mean Never Know Why?" I'm like, no, the song Never. It's a little confusing. But I think of the two, the song Never, well, I personally think it's better, but I like Never Know Why too. I think it's a good song, but I like Jake's playing on the song Never, and it's got a good Ozzy verse, good melody, but that's one of the songs I think that Jake really shines on, really shows his worth on the Ultimate Sin. You know, I mean, Jake had some big shoes to fill, and I think he did a good job. I don't think he tried to mimic Randy. I don't know that he could, but if he did try, it wasn't obvious. He brought a lot of himself. And my first pick, one of the B side, was a great example of him not trying to do something that's been done before with the slide guitar, with the bottleneck or whatever. You know, that's really cool. He was trying to do his own thing. And I think from what I've heard, there's some pressure occasionally for him to try to be more in line with what Randy was doing. And, you know, I don't think Jake was as, what's the word? I don't think he was as impressionable. I think he was pretty assertive with what he was capable of and what he did. And I think he was a great guitar player for Ozzy, but he definitely had some big shoes to fill. And coming from the Randy era records, man, I don't know. Like I said, Bark at the Moon definitely left me wanting a lot more than that. But I just as an aside, not Ozzy related, I think Jake just really went straight to the top with Badlands. Those 2 albums he did with Badlands, man, just great. I mean, the solos,
The guitar sound, the whole
yeah,
vibe of the band. It's got an old school 70s band playing live in the studio vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, I got the first Badlands album when it came out, and I was like, it sounded kind of hair metal, but I liked it. But it's really grown on me over the years. And then I snoozed on the second album, and I got that recently, and man, that's killer. He does. I mean, there's some like just some jammed like songs that have like a basic structure, but man, you can just tell that they're like jamming it out in the studio, and it's really like very 70s inspired. It's great stuff. I was really impressed. Kind of disappointed with myself that I didn't get it earlier, but maybe I wasn't ready for it then. But yeah, really enjoy that stuff now. So, I mean, I don't know if Jake was capable. I mean, that was probably something that I guess he found along the way, you know. He's also playing with some pretty killer musicians. Ray Gillen, great singer. Eric Singer, the drummer for All Seasons. You know, played with some of the most amazing bands: Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, you know, Kiss. Um, anyway, yeah, it's interesting that Jake moved on from the stuff he did with Ozzy and got so much better.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway.
for sure. All right, what's your last pick, Nick?
All right, man. This sums it up for me. Ozzy Osbourne. You can't kill rock and roll.
Cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's Ozzy through and through. I mean, he mentions it all the time. You know, what else would he be doing in this life? You know what I mean? Other than being a burglar or committing crimes. Like he's admitted that. You know what I mean? And I just love this song. It has its melodic and almost ballady type parts to the heavy parts, and it's one of my favorite Ozzy songs.
It's a great song.
Yeah, and I love the way the tone kind of changes in the guitar solo. It gets a little ominous in the guitar solo, and it's it's really, really cool. All right, my last pick. You would say off of Blizzard of Oz that everything off of Blizzard of Oz has been played live, but I'm picking something sort of from Blizzard of Oz, but it was also on the tribute album and D. And on the tribute album, of course, it has it's sort of an outtake. It's really Randy playing it a couple times and then eventually playing it like it would be. And as a Randy Rhoads, so I just was completely into Randy Rhoads from the first time I heard Ozzy, and just crushed when he passed, when he died. Being able to hear Randy's voice, this is before the internet, kids, being able to hear Randy's voice in this outtake was just, I just remember being just blown away, because you can hear him sort of play, and you can hear the talk back from the thing, and okay, you hear his voice.
Yeah.
And then at one point he stops and he goes, it's a jet. There's like a sound of a jet going overhead. And then you hear him at the end, which is just heartbreaking. You hear it at the end. He goes, I think that's a good one, or something like that. And you hear him put his guitar down, and you can hear him walking out of the studio room or whatever. So it's, love Randy Rhoads. Of course, that's like, that was his song to his mom. And it was just absolutely love it. And as a kid, hearing that, hearing tribute Randy live like that, and then hearing that at the end of it all, and being able to hear Randy's voice was just really, really special. So that is my deep cut from the Blizzard of Oz, sort of, but I'm going with the tribute outtake version.
Good pick. It's I was thinking about Randy, relevant to the recent passing of Eddie Van Halen. What if, so Randy had really two albums with Ozzy that established him as this amazing guitar player, and is why we're talking about Randy Rhoads, and the reason for all the articles, and the Randy Rhoads legacy is basically because of those two albums he did with Ozzy. What if Eddie Van Halen only did Van Halen 1 and 2? Those are probably the most groundbreaking albums that Eddie Van Halen did, but then to go from Women and Children First and Fair Warning, and then everything he did up to and including the Van Hagar stuff, which is peppered with some great stuff too. But we had a lot more time with Eddie Van Halen, and he did do so much even after those first two albums. So I often think, where would Randy have gone, and would he have done something that was every bit as good as those first two Ozzy records? Would he have done two more Ozzy records? Would he have put a band together that, how much did we miss by that tragic accident? How much good music, how much better would he have made our lives, musically speaking, if he'd been around for another 20, 30 years? That's the thing. what if, where would
Yeah.
George be? What would he be doing? It's always, he's definitely way too young.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
As a musician, I often wonder what he would have done.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, I would like to thank Darin and Nick for joining me here at the Lair. Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
A lot of fun.
Let us know in the comments what you think of our picks. Let us know some of your picks for some Ozzy deep cuts. Like we mentioned, Ozzy surprisingly has a fair number of B-sides and stuff like that. So there was, quite a few things you can pick from. Let us know what you guys think. Leave us some comments down below. I will again have in the description there links to Darin and Nick's bands, so check that out, and make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.